Hello everyone and welcome to Music Theory with GUIM. In this installment we're going to delve into Schubert's 8th song from the Maid-of-the-Mill song cycle, which in English can be referred to as Good Morning. We'll be exploring only 4 particular measures, which are measures 12 through 15, and in order to truly appreciate the context of this excerpt, I certainly recommend you take a listen to the full piece, as we'll only be listening to the measures being analyzed. So let's take a listen to the music and then begin our exploration. And in order to let your ears connect the excerpt to the composition's underlying tonality, I will roll out a tonic chord before the excerpt begins. So we're in the key of C major, and these measures consist of the chords G minor over B flat, A major, F minor over A flat, and G major. In relation to C major, both F minor over A flat and G major are quite straightforward. F minor over A flat is the minor 4/6 and G major is the 5. We can think of both F minor and G major as being pulled from the parallel C minor, or we can think of only F minor as stemming from the parallel minor. G minor over B flat and A major, however, are a bit more peculiar. In relation to C major, these harmonies would be a minor 5/6 and a major 6. But that doesn't really explain much in terms of function. And though it might be tempting to think of these simply as chromatic harmonies being used for the sake of color, perhaps there is more to it. For me, anytime I see a chromatic major chord, there is an immediate questioning of whether or not it is a secondary dominant, since secondary dominants are the most common chromatic harmonies. In this case, we have the chromatic A major, which would be the 5 of 2, or secondary dominant of D minor. But we have no D minor following the harmony, so perhaps this line of inquiry is just a waste of time. But before we completely abandon it, let's go ahead and look at G minor over B flat in relation to D minor. Relating G minor over B flat to D minor creates a minor 4/6 of 2. And this is the exact same relation we have with F minor over A flat and G major in relation to C major, so we're going to think of this pair of harmony as being relative to D minor. As mentioned before, however, there is no appearance of D minor, so why are we hearing A major progress to F minor? Well, for starters, there's nothing wrong with setting up a resolution and then choosing to progress elsewhere with no apparent connection. This is actually quite common in music and is often a way for composers to continue the development of tension. In this case, however, there are quite a few ways we can connect the progression of A major to F minor. The most obvious of these being that the latter 2 measures are a result of transposition. The first 2 measures are duplicated, and then they are transposed down by a major second. The piano accompaniment changes only in that it sustains notes, and the melody is an exact transposition. And because the music is transposed, we end up with a chromatically descending line in both the lowest tones and the highest tones of the piano accompaniment. So one logical explanation for this seemingly strange pairing of harmony is transposition. Another connection is that the harmony coincides with the poem's text, which is certainly an important aspect of Lieder. And for those of you unfamiliar with the work, it's about a journeyman who falls in love with a maiden at a mill. He pretty much becomes obsessed with her, and he believes that he'll have her in the end, but he's later bested by a hunter, and after falling into utter despair because of this, he eventually drowns himself. And in this particular poem of the entire set, he is greeting the maiden, hence the title Good Morning. But it doesn't seem like he's getting the response that he expects. And we know this because during these measures, the first set of text roughly translates to the journeyman wondering and questioning why his greeting is so greatly disliked and why she finds his glancing at her so disturbing. Now, it's possible to interpret these questions as being self-deprecating or perhaps just jokes created by insecurity, but Schubert's harmony suggests a bit of a darker tone. Initially, a darker mood is already set by G minor, but then we hear the relation of A major and F minor, which is a double chromatic mediant. And with the minor chord sounding after the major chord, it is very dramatic and dark, so this intensifies the mood even further. And we can even think of the descending lines as being indicators that his mood is declining. So in addition to transposition, we can now propose that the harmony is a result of wanting to create an overly dramatic mood. And both of these would be satisfactory explanations for the harmony that we have. But we can push our inquiry even further by setting aside what Schubert has written and consider what he could have written after A major. Upon asking this question, I found myself with quite a handful of information to ponder. Firstly, the simplest solution would be to resolve A major to D minor 7, D minor being the most obvious choice due to its diatonic relation with C major. The next option would be to consider the parallel major quality, D major, which would become a D7 with C in the melody. And this option would both resolve A major and create a short chain of secondary dominants, since D major is the 5 of 5. But do either of these options create a direct connection to F minor? So far, probably not. At most, we could say that D minor and F minor are chromatic medians, so perhaps that's a correlation. But what happens if we trade A for A flat so that we have that chromatically descending bass line? Well, D minor 7 becomes D half diminished, and D7 becomes D7 flat 5, or more appropriately, and A flat French augmented 6th, or A flat 7 sharp 11. The augmented 6th chord doesn't offer much insight for our current inquiry since it includes the note F sharp. D half diminished, on the other hand, does offer a potential connection. And the connection is that D half diminished contains both a D diminished triad and an F minor triad. As a result, we can consider F minor to be an upward mediant substitution of D diminished. And even though D diminished might not be the expected resolution of A major, it is still the predominant 2 chord of the parallel minor mode. And in this context, the end goal is developing the resolution of G major to C major, so we can also consider that A major is not only a secondary dominant of D minor, but is a secondary dominant of the predominant function. And with this in mind, we can even think of it being a functional substitution in that we're swapping out one predominant chord for another. And this is similar to substituting the 1 chord with the 6 chord following a 5 chord, or what you might refer to as a deceptive cadence. So now we have 3 potential reasons for harmony we might have initially thought to be unrelated. Those reasons being transposition, dramatizing the text, and harmonic substitution. And with these connections in mind, let's take another listen to this excerpt. So next time you're stumped by a group of harmonies that seem unrelated, consider what we discussed here. With a little bit of exploration, you might just find the missing link. Should you happen to have any thoughts or questions regarding this content, definitely leave a comment below. Do the same if you happen to have any requests for future explorations of Schubert's music. In the meantime, however, thank you for watching another episode of Music Theory with GUIM.